welcome to Season 2 of VHS Showdown.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hello.
My name's Murph.
I'm Tarby.
I'm Alan.
And I am Lee.
And what we do is we take the 80s and each week we pick a year at random, and then one of us has to select a movie from that year, and then we all have to watch it and decide what we think of it and sort of talk about it.
The end of Season 1 was on Lee, and Lee had 1989.
It was real fucking tough. This is the toughest it's been. It's so tough that I almost changed it to my second choice in the week. We had a conversation about it.
Well, what's your second choice?
UHF.
Oh, yeah.
I was gutted. I was waiting for the call, and my main thing was you said Murph has never seen it,
Yeah.
and I'm genuinely.
Yeah, I've never seen
I would love to have gauged your reaction and hear your thoughts on it, because it's
Maybe another season.
So you didn't go with UHF.
No.
So what did you go with?
I went with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Fantastic.
It was tough. That was tough, but I'm not sorry what we went with.
And why did you go for Bill and Ted, Lee?
Well, I fucking love Bill and Ted. They're just fun. Well, it's just one character, really, isn't it? They haven't got their own character. They're both the same character, and they're just a couple of nice, wholesome guys. They've got like a massive vocabulary, but they're also like surfers, so it's at odds with how they talk.
My distinguished colleague Ted and I wish to express to you our thanks.
It was definitely Bill and Ted that put the surfer speak out there, and it's still around now. People mock it and mimic it. I think the next one was Wayne's World that sort of did something like that.
They did a bit.
Good night and party on! Party on, Wayne! Party on, Garth.
But I mean, these guys
Probably over here, but if you lived in California since the 60s, you're probably...
Do you think?
Yeah. The whole
But I mean, that
surfer,
never really crossed over, did it? We never got many things like that over here, I suppose.
No,
So
I
just
think a
assumed
lot of
that-
the time that you assume that if you haven't seen it, nobody else has. And there's a lot of things if you listen through this podcast.
No,
This is the first time anyone's ever done a story about time travel. So no.
I don't remember saying it quite like that. Was 1980 a very early first time travel film?
No. I mean, time travel stories have been going on for God knows how long.
But anyway, the point was, no films certainly made it over here. But I mean, they are
definitely
almost sending up
popularised,
that sort of lifestyle, aren't they? You know, they do it so well, you actually believe them.
But there's no one else that uses like the vocabulary they have. It's at odds with the way they speak.
Also, you've got a family connection.
I have, yeah. So I have named my two sons Bill and Ted.
Which is amazing to convince your wife to do that for a fucking gag.
Yeah.
So your first son is like, what, 10 now, isn't he?
Bill's 10, yeah.
And Ted is how old?
Ted is 9 months old.
It took me about a couple of weeks after Lee said they were having another baby and they knew it was a boy, and then I was like, fuck. And I actually said to him, I was like, what's the likelihood that you're going to be calling your next son Ted? And he was like, 100%.
100%! Utah!
Oh, and he was so fucking certain about it, but Kate was like literally 100%. She wasn't.
It took me 6 months to wear her down.
But I mean,
She
like,
even agreed to call him Arnie. She's like, we can call him Arnie if you want. I was like, it's got to be Ted. It has to be Ted.
So, you know, what a payoff.
You've got to have another one just so you can have Arnie. That would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm done.
That's going to be Rufus. What was your knowledge of this film?
Yeah, I haven't seen it for best part of like 20 odd years. I
Oh,
think.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Remembered it
no.
real well. I enjoyed it as a kid. Happy to watch it again.
Bob?
Yeah, I've seen it more recently than that, but it was like when I was a kid and I used to have a paper round, I used to go and blow my money straight away, and one of the things I bought was like a copy of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in like 91 or something, so I watched that on repeat pretty much for ages, and then I knew there was a first one, obviously there was a first one, but I never really got around to watching it until about 10 years after I'd seen Bogus Journey.
Oh, fucking hell.
Well, that's weird, actually, because I'm a massive fan of Bill and Ted, and I even had like Excellent Adventure on VHS, and I realised 10 years ago that I hadn't seen Excellent Adventure. I was like, fuck, I've not seen this film. I mean, it was like having a new one released because I'd never seen it.
You only saw this 10 years ago?
Yeah, I thought that I'd seen it, and it was only when I was like...
That's fucking mad.
I know,
Yeah.
but it was so exciting because I was such a big fan of the second one.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a new film, and obviously the third one, quite like the third one as well. It's got the same feel.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Seen that.
That is interesting. I think I saw the cartoon first on Saturday morning TV. I remember watching a couple of those.
Do you remember the...
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. It's a party, that's for sure.
The first season was actually voiced by Alex Winter, and
Oh, was it?
Keanu
The first-
Reeves.
I think there was only one
it
season.
was another season by a different company.
Right, okay. So I remember that, then saw this one, and then I remember seeing Bogus Journey, I think on video after it came out, because I remember seeing about it in Looking. I was like, oh, that's
Fucking
good.
Looking.
Yeah, Looking.
Nice.
Class magazine.
Look out, let's look it.
3 in this week's Look In. 6 more Back to the Future album stickers. Plus, the A-Team, Cannon and Ball and other ITV favourites only in Look In.
We just fucking love a copy of Looking. Go to Sainsbury's. Shut you up for half an hour, wouldn't it? You know. So, right, should we get into it then?
So, starts off with them dicking around their garage, trying to record a video for their band, but they're shit. They go into school, and it turns out that they've got a history exam, because they fucked up everything in the year. They've got to make a presentation for, and if they fail it, they're going to flunk school.
They've got to get an A+, haven't they?
Otherwise, Ted is being sent to military school.
In Alaska.
Yeah. The guy who plays Ted's dad, there's some starch, in his collar, isn't there?
Yes.
He's been in quite a few films, isn't he?
Is he?
I can't think of anything else he was in.
Am I thinking of a different different guy then.
He was in Eraserhead.
But how did this guy give birth to fucking Ted? Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
Ted's
Because-
obviously been tooting the root for a while.
Well, yeah,
It
what
never
disappointment
alludes to that though, does it?
Well,
not even a mention of it.
Or do you think
they're not stoners? They're just thick guys.
surfer
Yeah,
dudes?
yeah, I don't think they are stoners.
I reckon they're stoners.
But the thing is that
Yeah.
they've only got to get an A+ in history to pass, which means that they're passing all their other classes.
Well, we
Class.
said they do have a good vocabulary. I mean, they're both completely fucking stupid. Well, I think when they originally wrote the script,
They're supposed to be nerds.
they're supposed to be proper nerds, like a bit sort of like chill sort of nerd. But then when they cast the two guys, they were so handsome, it kind of changed it.
Yeah.
They went from nerds to more sort of like thick
They
California.
look so young, don't they? And Keanu Reeves has got a fantastic fucking set of hair on him. Like.
He has
Man,
got some good hair.
He's a fucking handsome guy in this, isn't he?
He
I
is.
mean, he's a young guy, but fucking, you know what I mean?
He's
What-
never really played like anything other than that
Well,
character.
he was worried he was going to be typecast after that, wasn't he? Because it was like Speed was the next.
yeah.
He's
after
really
that.
good as this character, though, isn't he? He's like,
He's fucking
brilliant.
great,
Yeah, he's
and that's the thing. But he's never done another comedy. I looked and looked last night, and he's made
He's
some comedy.
Freaked, wasn't he?
He's made some comedy cameos, but he's
Yeah.
never done a lead role where it's been based around him being a funny guy. All of his films, John Wick,
Matrix.
everything is a serious character. But yet he's got this reputation for being like the world's nicest guy,
Yeah.
like away
Yeah,
from
yeah.
everything. He's
Nicest
like
man in
so
Hollywood.
down to earth, and he can obviously be funny.
yeah,
He just
yeah.
it baffles me why he chooses not to, or what must have come his way that he's turned down.
He's very zen, isn't he?
He is. He's a bit weird, isn't he? Because Keanu Reeves, it's like he's not an amazing actor, a bit like
Can't say
Surfer
that
dude.
about Keanu Reeves.
No, but he's not. He's not
The
amazing.
fucking
is he?
Wick- the Wick
but he
trilogy
is.
can fucking
He's at the same
do one.
At the same time, he's brilliant. He's like you can watch. He's so good.
Yeah, you couldn't see him doing like fucking Hamlet, could you?
No.
Something like
Yeah.
and he's sort of found that niche with all that sort of John Wick stuff recently, and he's sort of
He's
like
class
moved
in
over
that.
into all of that. Sort
Tarby
of.
don't agree.
No, I just
John
think
Wick's great, man.
it's the
They're fucking
same.
great
It's
films.
not only the same film; it's the same fight sequences. It's like Taken.
Yeah, but
It's like how many things can you do?
It's him doing it a lot of it as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
He's
It's-
really watchable. He's just
Have you seen him on that training with the machine guns?
Yeah,
And he's going
man.
around those like fucking
That was the
horses.
trainer for Matrix, was it?
No, I think
that
it was John Wick. But he's like
You wouldn't be with him in a zombie apocalypse, wouldn't you?
someone we know showed it to a guy who's in the SAS, and he was like, "Yeah, that was pretty good." He was quite impressed. So yeah, he's bloody cool. He's done some awesome films.
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
From Speed to Matrix.
Point Break.
Point Break, man. And that's the thing. He played that sort of surfer California dude in this, and went and fucking did that sort of as a cop.
Yeah.
And he's great in that.
amazing film.
He's an absolute bloody treasure.
He is. He is.
He's a bloody treasure. he is.
Everyone loves Keanu Reeves.
You're breathtaking.
Who thinks a nicer guy, Tom Hanks or Keanu Reeves?
Oh man.
Oh, if I can put them in a room together, and the world would implode.
Jesus.
Too much
Alright.
niceness.
Jeez.
Nice.
Who's nicer, Tom Hanks or Robin Williams?
I bet Robin Williams used to kick off sometimes.
Yeah, well, do you reckon Tom can?
Why he kicked off for that report?
Yeah, he
did.
banged into his wife, didn't he?
Back the fuck off. What are y'all doing? What do you want? You are crazy, bro. Knock it over my wife.
He's standing up for his wife, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
fair
good.
fucks.
Good guy.
We digress.
Anyway,
Let us know in the comments. What you think?
Yeah.
Who's the nicer guy? Let us know.
I think, Robin Williams would be a real nice guy to meet, wouldn't he?
Who's the nicest celebrity out there? Let us know.
Nice.
So anyway, they get this news that they're going to have to pass this exam, so they go back to try and do some study. And then Bill's dad comes in with his missus, who went to school with Bill and Ted, and then he's
Missy.
like, Missy, and he's
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah.
gonna have to leave the room so he can bang her in his son's bedroom.
He slips him like $10 and was like, fuck off.
Janet was doing it for her.
Like banging in your son's room, kicking your son out of his own room.
What was she getting out of that?
Yeah.
Well, I never realised until I said I watched a lot of Bogus Journey first when she was a bit older, but watching this one you realise
She went short of him.
she's the same age as Bill and Ted.
Remember when I asked her to the prom? Shut up, Ted!
It's quite like National Lampoons in a way, and like Ferris Bueller as well. It's suggested, but you don't see it, and it's funny, and you don't see anything.
There's
of
nothing
him, like,
gratuitous in it,
fingering
is
her
it?
or
It's all-
anything.
Yeah.
It's like it's literally a little nudge and a wink at the camera, like, and yeah.
It's a little out of place in the rest because it's not really like that in the rest
Yeah,
of the film.
yeah.
Is it? It's the only sort. It's a bit like we're almost in like Porky sort of territory.
Exactly, yeah.
At that moment.
That's what I mean. It was a very slutty time. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, she bends over and they're staring down her top,
But
and
what does she see in his fucking dad? He
yeah,
was a right
that's
fucking
never
flat
explained.
type, isn't he?
But she's just got a thing for older men, hasn't she?
Mr. Ryan? Tell him hi.
She's been there as well. Then in Bogus Journey, she ends up leaving Bill's dad and marrying Ted's. A gold digger, if you
You
will.
won't marry that piece of shit.
Well, they're not exactly minted, are they? That's the thing. But
You're just an asshole.
the heart wants what it wants.
So they go and do some study at the Circle K.
And it's one of the quotable lines as well,
Yeah.
like the strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
And then a phone booth comes out of the sky and lands, and it is Rufus from the future.
Of course, played by George Carlin, the comedian. He's very, very funny, and worth checking out if you haven't checked him out.
Rat shit, bat shit, dirty old twat. 69 assholes tied in a knot. Hooray! Lizard shit, fuck!
So it just says, well, that little phone box arriving, there's a little bit that I never ever noticed before, and it's quite cool. You can actually see sort of some of the characters in the box, but very blurry. It doesn't sort of let you know. Of course, I was like, well, you know who that is, because I've seen the film before, but at the time, you'd be like, well, who's that in the phone box?
Well, that's it. So out of the phone box comes Bill and Ted from the future to convince their past selves to go on this excellent adventure.
That's quite cool. It's that whole bit of them turning up when they're like trying to get Rufus to convince us, and then it's them that turn up to convince themselves to do it. It's really clever.
There is some pretty clever sort of time travel stuff. The way that they use it later on, and in the way they talk about it as well. There's it makes sense.
So the interesting thing I find with this is because it kind of came pretty much straight after Back to the Future.
Originally, it was Bill and Ted's time van, and the van was the time machine, not the.
They thought this is a bit
too much, but this was filmed in '87.
Yeah. So do you know what I mean? They must have got it going in '86.
Well, they actually wrote it in '83, I think.
Fuck. Yeah, I was watching it and thinking of the parallels with Back to the Future, because you've got like kids in California. You've got a cool, like, chilled out protagonist, albeit there's two of them. There's a whole mother thing going on, and then they travel fucking back and forwards in time, throughout it. So it's incredibly similar, isn't it? Really.
In some ways, yeah.
And got Rufus is kind of like the Doc sort of character, but in my head when I watched as a kid, I never compared them.
Nothing. It doesn't seem anything like it, does it?
No,
very different.
Anybody else? Is there a parallel between a time travelling phone box?
Well,
Doctor Who.
They reckon they'd never heard of Doctor Who.
I've never heard anybody. It's not even mentioned in the same sentence.
Yeah.
But it's a time travelling phone box. Doctor Who is like what, 60s it started, or 50s?
I don't know. I've never thought about Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's very loose connection because they don't make it like the TARDIS. It's not massive on the inside. They do sort of make it out to be a squeeze. So other than the fact that it's a phone box that goes through time, it's just weird that you say those key words and nobody ever mentions Doctor Who. Even though it's a time travel film and there are parallels with a lot of things, it feels like its own film and not influenced at all.
Yeah.
Also, when did you say it was filmed? 87?
Yes.
I thought it looked really good.
Stood up better than I remember.
Yeah. I suppose it was towards the end of when visual effects were shit.
I mean, it's filmed in 87, but it does feel like more of an early 90s
It does. Even like the way that they dress.
Yeah.
I know, like, if you look at some of them in the background, they do look slightly 80s, but actually they look 90s.
Yeah, they do.
It's bizarre.
I do think they had a big influence on 90s dress, didn't they?
maybe.
If you think about it, everyone was, things tied around their fucking waist and all that sort of
Not
shit.
belly tops, though.
Not belly tops, no.
Yeah, what the fuck? What's that about? Who wants to see fucking
Well, I mean,
Bill
in
Winters'
Bogus
fucking
Journey,
midriff?
Bogus Journey.
You can handle my midriff.
Check shirt and baseball cap, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like iconic.
Yeah.
So Rufus, to prove to them that this time travel stuff is real, he takes them to 1805 Austria, and during the Battle of Waterloo, and Napoleon accidentally gets tangled up through a time machine and comes back in time with them.
Also, Napoleon is fucking fantastic.
He's good.
Napoleon was a short, dead dude.
He's fantastic.
Is he in anything else, that guy?
Terry Camilleri, isn't it? Oh,
Terry Camilleri.
Terry Camilleri, yeah. So I don't know, I've never heard of him.
I've never even heard of it.
No, I've never seen him in anything else.
As I've never heard of much of this cast.
He's quite good in this.
I forgot to mention as well, Ted's grounded not only because of the history exam, but because his dad reckons he's pinched his keys.
Oh, yeah.
So his dad can't find his keys anywhere. Anyway, they sneak out and they go to 1879 and they find Billy the Kid in a bar, and they have like a big bar fight.
In hindsight, watching this, I do think the film is let down by the relationships they have with these historical figures. They're all a bit shit.
You've got to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Well, it is, the guy who plays Billy the Kid ain't very good, or he's not given much to do.
All of them are like that, aren't they? The historical figures.
They just sort of stand there and don't do anything when they don't need them to do, and when they need them to do something. So Billy the Kid has been kicking the fuck off.
Socrates was good. Napoleon was good.
I think there had to be an element of throwaway in it. At one point, it was like
an entire story on all of them.
No,
the original cut was 2.5 hours long.
Was it? But I would like to have seen a bit more like between them and Billy the Kid, a bit more realism, because I don't think he would go with them so easily. I don't think any of them would have gone.
I mean, Genghis Khan, man, fucking what? He lures him away with a Twinkie.
Want a Twinkie, Genghis Khan?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And the fucking Genghis Khan is Al Yong. He's the Chinese guy who always dies.
Yeah.
And he,
shit.
Die Hard, Lethal Weapon.
And he lived.
Big Trouble in Little China. So they get Billy the Kid and then they run back to the phone booth. I think they missed a trick because the phone booth is in between two fucking toilet cubicles, and if they'd have had like somebody walking in about to have a shit in it, or someone was already in it or something. That would have been,
that's
been a
good
good gag.
shade.
So they go back in time then to ancient Greece, 410 BC.
Very theatre-like set on that. It was very confined and very small. You never saw any wide shots. It was always those pillars just in it, which looked good.
Just in a polystyrene.
Exactly, yeah, but it was kind of like clearly like one little corner of a stage. Like, what, you must have had the budget on this film.
10 million.
But I was thinking about this. There's not many famous people in it at all.
No.
I was wondering who the guy who played Socrates was, because I've seen him in other shit.
Are you him?
He's in like Boone. Do you know what I mean? He was like a jobbing British actor who's in like fucking shit like fucking Bergerac. I never fucking Lovejoy and shit.
I like the way they describe Greece later on in the film.
There were many steps and columns. It was most tranquil.
That is cool.
They sing some song lyrics and wow him over with some philosophy. So he decides to
they show him the grains of sand, don't they?
Yeah. And then they go to 15th century England and they see these princesses and they disguise themselves as knights to go and rescue them.
This was all a bit weird. It all seemed like it needed a bit more time, this bit.
I think they spend quite a while there.
Yeah, well, it's more like they see these princesses and then they're sort of in love. It's like, it was the typical sort of 80s courtship, really. It was like, you're some babes, we're some fucking guys, and then they're just going to want to get...
That's what they're like, though, aren't they? A couple of fucking dicks.
There was a little ball game going on between Billy the Kid and Socrates.
Oh, in the background, yeah.
And I thought it was going to heat up and it was going to, end in a little sort of bit more of a scuffle, but it kind of fizzled out, and it was like, I thought they could have capitalised on that a little bit.
They were
more.
like friends, though, those two, weren't they?
Yeah.
They made friends.
So this was all filmed in America now, by the look of it. So the castle was fake then, was it?
I guess.
I thought they might have done that on location somewhere, but when I watched the credits, I didn't see anywhere in England come up.
So they built it?
Well, I guess so, but I mean, they've probably used stock footage from outside, but they've done a good job. I didn't even notice it when looking. Like, the ladies come out on the balcony and they spot them. I thought they were at a genuine castle.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things with it about this film what I'm not having.
Go on.
First one is, they're having this sword fight, messing around, and then he falls down the stairs and falls out of his arm. Yeah. I'm not having that. I refuse to believe
it. Wasn't even like he struggled. He literally, in one movement, he rolled out.
And there's things done up around the back of his legs.
Yeah.
I fell out of my shoe when I hit the floor.
He slid over into a working kitchen. But you passed a load of people.
Under the table.
Under a table. It was that realistic. Some guy went up and stabbed it. And must have thought there was actually somebody in this empty knight's armour.
Yeah, I'm not having that.
Yeah.
Well, how did they even get in the fucking castle and get in those bits of armour? How long did they have to get in it? If they heard someone coming down the corridor, how long would it take you to fully get in a set of armour, the two of you?
Yeah, a fucking wizard definitely did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's more time consuming to get into the armour than literally just leg it up to the window where you...
Well, it's obviously not hard to get out of the armour, is it? Right. So it must have been really easy to get in. They just slid straight into it.
Walked into the back of it. When he thinks that bloke's killed Ted, it gets real dark for a second. He's like, "Who killed Ted?
You killed Ted, you medieval dickweed!"
And he's like, "Fuck, man, he's gonna kill him. I thought he's gonna fucking kill him." But he didn't.
Called him a dickweed.
A medieval dickweed.
Dickweed.
They call him a fat.
What's your profanity?
Oh, yeah. There's a couple.
That's the only slur in this one.
Yeah, well, there's a bit where they hug, isn't it? Then they look at each other.
That's it.
Bit like the only bit which hasn't aged well.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
I thought you were a couple of nice guys.
Did you know that castle stairs always go up to the left?
Yes.
I was quite impressed that they had that. They were running down the stairs to the right, and I thought that is accurate.
Maybe it's a real castle.
Do
we definitely know it wasn't?
Well, it doesn't say filmed
castle.
on location in England at no point, or it doesn't even say filmed on location in
Have they
Bavaria.
got a fake castle in America?
Yeah, they got on, I think, for filming on. This would be a studio, wouldn't it? They've had.
I want to see these American castles.
You're going to go and hunt of the American castle.
Right, that's our cue to move on. Sorry, Dave.
So anyway, they escape from these guys, and then they go and rescue these princesses then.
And the princesses have been forced to marry some ugly dudes.
They don't do anything, do they?
No, they're just
literally
there.
in it for like a couple of minutes and then you don't see it.
Me and Al asked two girls out like Bill and Ted in that situation at that party. In fact, we were all at that party.
How did that work out?
It worked out with a son called Bill and the other one called Ted.
How romantic.
I know.
A gentleman never spills the beans. Apart from what
no.
And here we go, down the hole.
There we go.
So anyway, they woo these girls with some rhyming. We rhymes time with time.
For whom we have traveled through time. Will you go to the prom with us in San Dimas? We will have a most triumphant time.
The dad turns up, doesn't he?
I'm the Earl of Preston.
And I am the Duke of Ted.
Yeah. But anyway, so the dad's not having any of that, so they take him to be executed.
I was a bit disappointed in the king,
He was going to put them in the Iron Maiden though, wasn't he? Supposedly that wasn't a real torture device as well.
Well, it wouldn't fucking be, would it,
It'd
Jeff?
be a killing device.
Yeah, you sit in there and fucking shut that and you're dead. Ugh, horrible.
Anyway.
They're rescued by Billy the Kid and Socrates, who are in disguise as executioners.
Yeah, I'm dubious about that because he can't speak fucking English.
He's a clever bloke.
He's great. He is clever. But the two of them to communicate such an elaborate fucking.
A very Robin Hood escape, innit?
It was.
They had the phone booth on the back of a cart. And
Can I just join you in the club of I ain't having that? It doesn't matter how good you are with knots. There's a phone box on the back of a horse and cart over muddy ground.
With wooden wheels.
And it's tied down with 2 bits of rope going over the side, but that thing stays
you're
up.
fine with the time travel aspect, just that.
I'm just not having that phone box. We'd stay on that horse and cart.
I liked the guy who dropped off the phone booth as well. He was like, "They're heretics!"
They fell out of the sky!
There's fire in their eyes. They got horns. It's fucking great.
So they go in time, but it's just as a knight he's swinging his mace, isn't it? And he hits the area.
Can we just say that aerial is an umbrella with no fucking umbrella? It's an umbrella. It's the inside of an umbrella, isn't it?
It's fucking cool to design.
It is. It's so simple.
I don't think it is the most structurally sound of devices, and considering how far in the future they are, I think they can improve on it.
But it was like, that's not what the actual time machines look like, do they? They've just made it look like that.
Oh, I see.
You know, at the beginning you see it's like some sort of obelisk, isn't it? Which then morphs into a frame of reference so they would understand. I thought that was quite cool.
There was no other phone boxes in that film at all. You know, I was just trying to think about what American phone boxes were like at that era. Did it fit in? It doesn't show you any other ones. I would have thought there would have been a moment where it got confused for another phone box, but there's not even one in the background.
It's the problem these days as well, isn't it, though? That we've lost our great phone boxes now with the birth of mobile phones.
Yes, Alan, yes.
But the countryside has gained defibrillators, though.
Yes, and that's the occasional free book.
Did you find yourself when you drive past a phone box? Like, oh, phone box.
Phone box.
It's like, oh, fucking hell. Look at that.
If a kid lost its mobile phone today and was walking home and came across a phone box, they would be fucked.
They would be. Kids don't know the pain. Like, you know, when you're a fucking kid, you'd be like, I'll go and use this fucking phone box, and you go and pick it up and sort of wipe like dog shit.
Chewing gum.
You'd be like, oh man. It's like there's this public convenience you can use, but like
people going pissing.
7 times out of 10, someone's done some horrible shit to it. Like, there's a fucking Johnny in the corner. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I mean, that's why we don't have things, isn't it? Because we can't look after shit. But there was like 9 out of 10 phone boxes smelled of like piss. And there was always that hot summer, you know, where you'd have to go in a phone box and it's fucking hell.
Someone's pissed in it.
Like being an adult now, I would liken it to walking into a Portaloo at like day 2 at Glastonbury. Like probably not day 4, but day 2. You're like, oh,
very nostalgic, isn't it? So, you know, these things you look back and think, oh, phone boxes, and you think about it, it's like, no, actually,
it's fucking gross.
It was fucking shit. And that's like some 80s film.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This one, maybe.
Which is what we're here to discuss.
So anyway, they accidentally go to the far future now, and they see all these 3 supreme leaders or whatever.
Well, these are the people that sent Rufus, isn't it?
Yes. And then everyone sees them and comes out and they're like, wow.
Well, that's a very nice moment, isn't it?
It is. They just say some random, be excellent to each other and fucking party on, and that becomes their whole like society.
Society's weird as fuck. They all just like sort of sit around in Nirvana, don't they? Just sort
of waving around.
They were floating. They wouldn't even sound anything. They were fucking floating. What a leap in fucking technological advancement.
Their title is the 3 most important people in the world. That's what they're credited as.
The main one of them, the black guy, do you know who he is?
He's like plays like a fucking saxophone or something.
He plays saxophone in the fucking E Street Band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's the guy who plays the saxophone on Born to Run.
Oh, fucking...
How cool is that?
Love a bit of Bruce.
Oh, fucking the boss.
Love him.
Yeah, you gotta love the boss.
So anyway, it cuts back then to Ted's younger brother Deacon, and they've taken Napoleon to a diner.
Yes.
And they're doing this ice cream challenge called the Ziggy Pig.
Ziggy Pig.
Eat the pig. Ziggy Zig.
Those are the writers.
Is it? Fair play. They've had a sort of a mad career. Well, one of the writers has only ever really written Bill and Ted, and the other one has written quite a lot of other stuff.
So originally, they came up with the concept of this in an improv class. There's 3 of them. There was Bill, Ted, and Bob.
Yeah.
And then Bob, their mate, got bored of it and was like, no, I can't be fucked with it. And they carried on with it, and they made the script out of it. And
that's pretty cool. That might have bombed if it was 3 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been a fucking tremendous success. I think the 2 of them and those 2.
There's something nice about the fact that they don't interact with anyone else. They're such good friends with each other. They just don't need to hang around with anybody else.
They're both completely fucking stupid, though, aren't they? Is the thing.
They are, but they're good-natured.
There's a bit when they're fighting, but they're like they're basically side by side, and they're sort of walking back, and they're kind of like, "Sir, there's no need to beat us. We are weak." Like, but yet, when Ted falls down the stairs and quote unquote falls out of his armor, that breaks Bill.
You
know, to the point where he's prepared to take on a bloke without any experience or anything. Like, you know, so they're dumb, but you know they've got a bit about them.
Yeah, I didn't think of that before. Do you think they get much action?
I wouldn't say so.
I reckon they get a bit because, like he says about Ted being a ladies' man.
Yeah, I kind of like to think of it more like fucking Dumb and Dumber though. Like, you know, one of them thinks the other one's the ladies' man. Probably sort of guys go on the beach and be like, "Hey, babes," everybody be like, "Screw you," kick sand on them or something.
They kind of do seduce the 2 princesses.
They do
a minute
immediately, just by looking at them.
I mean, they were both.
That was very convenient.
Bucks, weren't they?
And they were medieval ladies who'd probably never seen such jazzy attire. What a better story for The Way to Meet Your Wife than travelling back in time.
Is this like your favourite other film from the 80s?
Galaxies colliding.
Somewhere in time.
Yes, I do like a time-travelling love story.
So anyway, Napoleon eats all of his ice cream. He wins his little Ziggy Pig badge.
His face when he's eating that ice cream, just by the way, just that last scoop when the little girl goes in to try and get it and he perfectly blocks her spoon, but it's the death stare at her.
Yep.
And then they go bowling and Napoleon makes a dick of himself. So
good.
all the kids dump him at the Bowlerama and then he's left to wander the streets. Bill and Ted are still travelling through time aimlessly because the Ariel on top's knackered. So then they go to 1901 and they enlist Sigmund Freud by lassoing him. Billy the Kid lassoes him. Then they go to Germany to get Beethoven.
It gets quite farcical at this point.
They're speeding through it now.
Yeah.
Good set in Beethoven's time, even though it could have been easy to do with curtains and everything. They've got proper paintings on the wall, everybody's in character. I think that's where maybe 9 of the 10 million was on that room.
I would say that would be boring as shit. Fucking
fops, like,
you know what I mean? Powder on their faces and all that sort of shit.
That would have been a terrible fucking time to be alive.
That one cool thing they did used to do in those days was when they had like the Battle of Wits, and you know, saying, "You sir, have the hair of a goat," or some shit like that.
It's like a rap battle.
It was, yes, that's what it was. When they'd stand in the room doing it, everyone would be, "Oh."
It'd be dirty and cold.
You'd have got like
constantly cold,
getting gonorrhea and shit.
Yeah,
because if you didn't have any money, you would be literally throwing your piss out the window. And all the rest of it.
They were all pissed because you couldn't drink water because water would give you the shits. So you had to make mead or like ale, and so they were just
to hydrate yourself.
Yeah, because you couldn't drink water. Because
it was like cowboy days as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
they just drank whiskey, didn't they?
That's why for fucking hundreds of years everyone's just para. And when they had the first coffee houses in London, people were like, "Fucking hell!" because they could like fucking think straight and they could do shit. Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, 1429 they go and get Joan of Arc. 1209 and rescue Genghis Khan, and that's probably the best, isn't it?
Yeah, with the Twinkie, isn't it? Although he is like trying to force himself on this lady, but that's what Genghis Khan did. So again, that's quite historically accurate.
They saved the maiden.
They did.
And then they go to the White House in 1863 and rescue Abraham Lincoln.
He was fucking good. The guy who played him, he looked fucking
party on, dudes.
Yeah.
Weird hands.
Abraham drinking.
Weird hands in that silhouette.
Did he? Hand watch.
Very strange.
Well, you got the stovepipe hat watch.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's a classic hat. Iconic, some might say.
He was a gangly guy, wasn't he, Lincoln? He was very gangly.
Gay, supposedly.
Was he?
Yeah, supposedly. And good for him.
Yeah. That'd be great.
All power to him, like.
Yeah, that'd be good for the American people to know that.
Yeah. So then they end up in the Stone Age. They realise then that that's the Ariel that's making them go. So they all have some bubblegum.
Yeah.
And then they fix the Ariel with the bubblegum.
Everyone's pretty chill with all this going on. I think if I'd been kidnapped, put into a phone box, and like travelled around time with various fucking warlords and fucking philosophers and shit, I'd be fucking.
They should have addressed the whole group of the historical figures, but they do say to Billy the Kid.
Because he said, like, excellent, didn't he?
Billy, you are dealing with the oddity of time travel with the greatest of ease.
If they'd have said that to everybody, covered, done.
So then the Stone Age, and then they end up going forward in time at the Circle K, where they had met themselves earlier. And this is where they convinced themselves earlier on in the film to go on this adventure in the first place. So then they've got to have this bizarre subplot then, where they've got to get Missy to give them a lift to the mall, and they've got to tidy the house up. I'm sure they could have got an easier way to get into town than fucking... But they do give some funny fake names.
Socrates Johnson, Bob Genghis Khan.
And he's like drinking toilet water and brushing his hair with like fucking toilet water and shit. That's funny.
It cuts then to the history presentation, which has started. So they're against the clock now, and you see other people in the class giving their presentation.
Before that, there's a little scene when they go to the mall and they get everybody to sit down and have a drink, and they say, "We've got to find Napoleon, so don't go anywhere." It cuts to them at the baseball practice with Deacon.
Do you realize you have stranded one of Europe's greatest leaders in San Dimas?
He was a dick.
And they never ask anything else, they just turn around and walk away.
But the whole thing with that, he stood behind a fence, but the fence like stops there. But there's literally just some fence there talking around it. So Napoleon goes to that water park, right?
And he's having some hijinks.
So you know the whole film's set in San Dimas. Well, when my wife were on our honeymoon, we went to a water park in San Dimas. We went to Raging Waters, and then when I was watching the film, we were both watching thinking, "Fuck, is that the fucking one we went to in San Dimas?" And has it just been like sort of changed to something else instead of Raging Waters while they filmed it? But now they filmed it in Arizona.
They actually.
Wow, what a twist!
I think they used stock footage for the establishing shots of Raging Waters.
Oh, fucking
and
hell!
Then they filmed it on location, but because they had such a small budget, they couldn't shut the water park. So all the scenes of the people behind him in the queue were actually people waiting to film.
I think that the lifeguard was real because his one line,
Buddy, you're holding up the line.
but then if you look, when he pushes him down, it's like he's been directed to like just hold his pose, but instead he looks like he's just thrown a bowling ball and he just fucking stays dead still with his arm stuck out.
He's no actor.
Yeah, no, he's got the wooden spoon.
He's a fucking lifesaver though, Tarb. He saves lives.
I don't know.
You saying he's never saved a life? You some chump.
Yeah.
He works in a water park in California. I bet he's had to save a life somewhere along the line.
I bet that's quite a good job.
Yeah, I bet it's a fucking awesome job.
A water park in California.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm too pasty and fat to be naked at a water park.
You don't to be naked. Somebody told him you got to put the fucking trunks on.
And he's got a swimming cap on as well. Napoleon. That's quite funny.
Very little need for that.
I know, it's just quite a nice touch though, isn't it? He's wearing like bloomers as well or something.
I was fucking worried. There's a bit where he gets out of the pool and you can see straight through his top, and then there's a bit where I actually looked away because I thought, I'm going to see his dick squashed up against the front of those long johns, like see-through, and it's like...
Was it the most erotic thing you'd ever seen, Tom?
It's the most erotic thing I've never seen. I looked away. I really didn't want to see a dick.
You didn't look away.
Why do you think I'm saying it?
To prove how straight you are.
Was there a dick?
What would happen if you'd seen that dick? Would you be like, disgusting? Fucking,
You know, don't get me wrong. It wouldn't be the first time that anybody's ever seen a dick, let's be honest. But, like, you know, I didn't want to see it from a fucking middle-aged bloke squished up in some fucking see-through long johns.
That's not the dick you want to see, though.
It's not sort of wet t-shirt.
Young, proud dick.
I don't want that kind of wet t-shirt contest.
So anyway, back at the mall, there's all kind of hijinks going on, and each one of the historical figures is having some farcical scenario that's getting him into trouble. I think the funniest ones again is Genghis Khan.
Yeah,
He's all tooled up in a sports store. Like.
Awesome.
Beethoven's one's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good
Billy
one.
the Kid and Socrates trying to pick up those two girls as well.
Yeah,
and then Freud comes over with his his corn dog.
Yeah. And then the Joan of Arc one's a bit shit.
She doesn't do a great deal in it, does she? There's nothing. Yeah.
So anyway, they all get arrested and end up at the police station, and then Bill and Ted have got to go and try and rescue them, don't they?
Yeah, and that's cool the way that they use time travel in this next one.
Yeah.
Really cool. I've never seen it. I don't think I've seen it done again.
Now, explain this to me. Right, so you said that if they fix the loop, it just goes and carries on, yeah? But they're able to put stuff in places just by thinking that they've done it, which means that at some point...
they're going to do it after.
But in some point in the future, then, they have to execute that, don't they?
Yeah.
So...
They did.
So is that that's part of the loop as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, you're not so... All right, because it didn't make sense to me that how can they just imagine stuff and then not have to do it later on?
Basically, I think in the Bill and Ted universe timeline like that, nothing really changes, does it? Everything's happened that's happened. You've got the main change, which they've gone back to change, but it's like a combination of different time travel theories, isn't it? Because Rufus is doing this to change the timeline, but he must have always done it.
Yeah, he's always done it.
He's always had to go back and do this. This has just always been part of it.
But then Rufus shouldn't need to be there. He should have just setting them on their mission and not bother giving them a warning because everything was always going to end up the same.
The Bill and Ted timeline would look like one bit of string with fucking shitloads of loops in it.
Right.
But it'd just be one, like...
Even all of, like, Abraham Lincoln and all the rest of them, I mean, when they go back, that would ultimately change their view on life entirely and change their course.
Considering the crux of most time travel stories is don't change anything in the past, you're getting the most popular president of all time and exposing him to life in 1989.
Even the one going back to, like, Joan of Arc, she's going to go back to where she lives in France.
But she always would have done, I guess.
But she'll now start calisthenics classes.
There was these two guys that turned up in this machine and we went to the future and, like, everyone...
In the Bill and Ted, like, version of time travel, though, it's like everything has happened already, so when they would have gone back, this wouldn't have affected them so much. Maybe it might have helped them turn into what they were going to turn into anyway, and they talked about it.
Yeah, so very simply, Bill and Ted get arrested and they need to find a way to distract Ted's dad, and they say, what we're going to do is imagine a tape recorder and we would stash it somewhere in
the keys.
The keys are the first one, isn't it? And then and they realise it works because they remember that his dad's keys were missing. It's like, oh, it must have been us that stole them.
Yeah, that's quite good. I like that bit.
Yeah, they do a tape recorder to distract his dad, and then they've got the keys. And this brings me to the second part of the film, what I'm not having. When he says, we'll get a bin, and then the bin falls on him.
Oh, no.
How do they have that bin suspended above him for however long they took it there?
Unless they were both up there, because they never look up.
Well, yeah, that's plausible, I guess.
If they were both, like, through a skylight, drop the bin.
Yeah, I could get on board with that.
I think don't they get Chuck Anomalous the same way in Bogus Journey?
Well, in Bogus Journey, Chuck Anomalous is like, I'm going to bring a gun, and it materialises in his hand. I'm definitely not having that. Unless that's part of the technology of the gun.
Yeah, no, that breaks their own fucking rules of time travel, because we would have always had that gun in their way.
But anyway, back to that bit in Bill and Ted. The bit I'm not buying about that scene is he's like, you got a tape recorder at home? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, we got a tape recorder, we'll set it to a timer. And it's like, then the tape recorder they find is like one of those classic fucking 80s clunky key ones, you know, that has nothing that you could set to it.
It makes some good radio shows on those.
Yeah, that was the sort of thing you'd hold up to the TV to record Top of the Pops. And also, just to add insult to injury, when he pulls his tape recorder out, it's not attached to fuck all.
Yeah, batteries,
Battery.
Well, no, he's on about setting a timer, which is the whole premise of this voice going off that distracts his dad. But the kind of tape recorder he uses, it's very poor attention to detail. It is a very rudimentary tape
Unless
recorder.
when they went to the future, they realised there was no timer and they had 3 minutes of silence on it and then pressed it. And
Yeah.
That's like fucking defending the Tories. You're fucking...
No. That's
Like,
feasible.
when I was a kid, we were driving back from the swimming baths one day. My mum had picked me up from a swimming lesson. It was pitch black, middle of the night. It was around Halloween. We were driving from the swimming baths, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this fucking screaming started. Like that. What the fuck? Me and my mum started fucking freaking out. And my brother had done that. He'd recorded a fucking tape with about 20 minutes of silence on it, and then him just fucking screaming like into the microphone, like blood curdling. And he turned the fucking thing up to full blast and put it on thing. So when my mum started driving, then it would like come off in the car.
That's fucking brilliant.
So it can definitely be done.
Oh no, it can be done. I'm just saying it's a lot of assumption that that's what they did.
But there's no other way that they could have done it.
No, that's good. That's the acknowledgement I was looking for.
And they would have had to have
It's
perfect
impossible.
timing as well.
Yeah.
But that's fucking dangerous, man. I mean, funny, but your mum could have drove off the road.
She almost fucking did, man. Yeah.
Jesus, that's horrible. Does anybody else notice that guy back in the police station when they read the note and it's from themselves? And then at the end of the note it says, P.S. Duck.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a fucking cop sat in a chair just with an empty cup waiting to be told to move. He's just facing the wrong way. His lamp's off, his computer's off. He's just sat in a chair. He's like, go. And he gets up and it's like, what the fuck?
I tell you what would have been great, man, is if in the credits of this you saw them having to go back and do this.
Yeah, that would have been good.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, 100% that would
I bet when they were writing that, they're like, oh, remember to put Duck on the back. Oh, yeah. And they would, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would have been
And it's
nice
funny
to
they'd
see
written
that.
Wild Stallions on the bin as well, upside down, so they could read it. So anyway, they rescue all these guys and they head to their history report. And with the help of all these historical figures, the report's really good. Everyone's like, hey! If you were in that school and you saw that report, you'd be like, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it's a fucking 8-star report. That is.
The guy before it who was like bottling it, and all he said at the end is St. Demas High School football rules.
St. Demas High School football rules.
And then everyone goes fucking mad, like,
That's a classic American get out.
yeah.
That presentation they do, though, there's like lighting
It's
and
fully-
fucking music.
Well,
and
originally it was supposed to be in a classroom. They wanted it more like a musical number or something. They thought it'd
Yeah.
be shit in a classroom, so that's why they set it on
I mean,
stage.
they
like that.
choreographed that shit quick.
Yeah.
They did.
I wonder whether they used that thing. They were like, oh, let's remember to set up some lighting and set up this and do that. And they went back and did that because
Yeah, maybe.
there's no way that a lot of that was done on the fly.
Speaking of time travel, Chris Matheson, one of the guys who wrote this, his dad wrote Somewhere in Time. So
No way.
There's a connection.
There
for
you go.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It's in his blood.
Amazing. Oh, his dad's a famous sci-fi writer, isn't he?
Back to the end of the story. So then Rufus turns up and he's brought these princesses and they end up joining the band. And it turns out they'd always been in the band. And
And they're awful. The band can't play.
the band's shit.
No.
That's the gag, isn't it?
Yeah. And then it ends, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's it.
And it ends.
Rufus talks to the camera again, and then
Yeah.
and that's the end.
The last thing he says is, they get better. It sounds like, oh, there's a part 2 coming.
Because part 2, Bogus Journey, I haven't seen it for a while, but I would say I prefer it.
Part 2's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I
Part
prefer
2's
it.
better, yeah.
I still think part 2 is my
And
favourite.
part 3's good. These are of a very specific time, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
But the third one has got the same humour and feel, but it doesn't feel dated. It just feels within the same universe. It's like, oh, it's nice and warm, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
I haven't seen the third one, but I do think Bogus Journey is superior.
I think you should watch the third one. Stop being
Yeah,
a
yeah.
twat.
No,
You can watch that with your missus.
yeah, she'd like.
Can't even remember the second one.
What fucking
What the
Bogus
fuck?
Journey?
Yeah.
No, it's been so long since I've seen them.
Did you not watch it last year?
So that's it. That's the whole story. Any other bits that people want to bring up about
Geordie Shore.
with the
Is
TV
Geordie
program?
Shore. No, fucking Geordie Shore.
No.
Paulie Shore.
Fucking Geordie Shore. It's a fucking reality show.
Paulie Shore.
Yeah.
Audition for Ted.
I fucking
Oh yeah. I knew that.
Glad that didn't happen.
Brendan Fraser, didn't he?
Brendan Fraser auditioned for Bill, didn't he?
And a few mad people auditioned for Rufus as well. I think Sean Connery. they
Ringo
talked about-
Starr.
Ringo Starr.
And Charlie Sheen.
That would have been really real different film. He would have been like their fucking
Sean-
drug dealer or something.
He was fucking young then as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like Sean Connery, like, you know, established actor.
Ringo Starr.
Ringo Starr. That would have been
fucking
interesting.
Starr.
It would have been interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But fucking Charlie, yeah, put my name up.
Charlie Sheen.
Brendan Fraser might have been pretty good.
And,
but,
and River Phoenix auditioned for Bill as well.
Yeah.
They were both real good though, weren't they, actually? Can't really imagine them being played by anyone else.
I want to give a little nod to some of the bands. Power Tool, Big Pig, some Robbie Robin there, Shark Island, there was some Rory.
Classic
We all
Rory.
enjoyed Bricklin, I know that one. And whoever could forget Stevie No Wonder Salas. This is some heavy hitters.
Stevie Salas.
Stevie No Wonder Salas.
No wonder Salas.
Stevie No Wonder, yeah? No?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
all sort
I
of
didn't
big,
see that coming.
big hair sort of metal things. Just mad, isn't it? Mad.
Because obviously there was a 2-year gap between them filming it and then it being released because the studio went bust and it got picked up by Orion. But some of the promo shots of them that they took after, Keanu Reeves' hair is a really bad wig compared to what it is in the movie, because obviously he'd grown his hair or cut his hair or whatever. There was a 10 million budget, but it took 40.5 million at the box office.
That surprises me.
So
I thought it would be more.
Well, I mean, it's pretty successful considering there are no fucking actors in it.
I bet it did pretty well on video, didn't it?
I imagine it did because I owned it on video and I never fucking watched it.
That's silly.
It was like having a pineapple back in Victorian days. He owned it, but he never used
Showing
it.
off for my VHS.
Carrying it around everywhere. He's got that on VHS.
Check out his VHS.
I guess, Lee, do you want to go first? I mean, you picked it. And the mad thing I find with you is that you saw Bogus Journey first and then went to this after. So.
Yeah, well, it's so weird. It hadn't occurred to me that I hadn't seen it, despite being such a big fan of it. I am just a big fan of Bill and Ted as characters. I just love to watch them. They're just fucking hilarious. And they're just a couple of twats. I know that to enjoy this film, you've got to overlook certain things. Their whole universe is slightly farcical. But when you get on board with that, I think you can't overlook it. So I'm going to give it a 9.
It was actually really nice to watch it again. Like, as I said, it's been fucking best part of 20 years since I watched it. And I thought that it would age badly and not be funny, but I fucking loved it. It was great. It was great to watch it again. Bill and Ted, class. They're just harmless, and I like Napoleon in there. Socrates I thought was really good as well. They were quite funny, not offensive at all. So I'm going to give it a 9. Loved it.
I think the special effects were better in Back to the Future, and given that was such a massive part of this film, then I don't think it stood up to high definition. But that being said, they had quite a low budget and they were all, by the looks of it, very unknowns, so I can understand not blowing it all on that, but it's 50-50 on the graphics. Like, some of it looks good, some of it is a bit like so dock a little bit for that. But yeah, like you said, it's a groundbreaking film. It's like the first of its kind and it's stood the test of time. Everything about it, I don't know why it's got that magic and I don't know what it is, but it's when you watch it you can just keep watching it. So yeah, properly enjoyed this one, and yeah, I'm going to dock it half a point for those effects, but that still leaves it with a 9.5.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I've always liked Bill and Ted, but I do think watching it again, I don't think it was as good as I remembered. They're great in it, but I think there was so much sort of bits in the story, which I think they were just trying to get through a lot. It is a romp. They don't change. They don't learn anything. There's no character development for them. They're fucking idiots at the beginning. They just pass their course at the end. And that's fine. It is enjoyable to kind of watch them two you guys doing that, but I think it could have been a bit better. Could have been written a bit better, I think, like that. And some of the character things could have been a bit better. But obviously it's still a classic, and there's bits of it that I really sort of do enjoy that are nice to watch again. So I will give it a 7.5.
I was going to say, if you give it anything under 8, I was going to call you a twat.
That's quite a diff. I don't know the history of the guys who did this, so I don't know whether they could have done better or not, because there's no benchmark for me. So that is the best thing like it I've ever seen. So I can't really sort of say.
Then Back to the Future, is it?
No, but it's not trying to be. It's kind of the time travel's almost, I don't know. Somehow they make it the mode of transport, but you don't really pay that much attention.
Yeah, but what I mean, not to compare them to very, very different films, but I mean, Back to the Future is obviously like, a 10 or whatever. But if you look at that,
that's a blockbuster film. Though,
yeah, it's a very different thing, I guess.
So yeah,
But it's funny, but I don't think it's ever funny enough. It's not like funny the whole way through. It's not like, this is really funny. There's a couple of funny bits.
I'm like amused by those two all the way through. They fucking crease me up.
In real life, they annoy the shit out of you after about a day.
Yeah, you couldn't handle too much of them. I don't know, they're forgivable, aren't they? You just accept it.
I love the most modern iteration, I guess, of that type of character is probably Argyle in Stranger Things. He's kind of good Californian, he's sort of stoner sort of.
Him, yeah.
Alright, cool. So that's the scores for that. So let us know what you think of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Did you enjoy it as much as you enjoyed it before? Do you think Bogus Journey's better? Let us know. So now we're going to find out what film we're going to have to watch next week. So Al was given the year 1982.
I was indeed. The usual fare, there were some decent ones, but I have gone for an icon of the 80s.
Oh, fucking hell.
A man who really summed up the 80s. We're going to go with Rambo First Blood.
Oh!
I have. Okay, looking forward to seeing that all together.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's going to be fun.
Good. Right, okay. So, guys, if you're listening along at home, you need to watch Rambo First Blood before next week's episode. But also, this week we need to give Tarby his year. So, right, Tarb, get the random number generator out.
Fuck, this is like forgetting it's your birthday. I didn't realise it was me today. Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So, we've got the random number generator. You ready, Tarb?
Totally.
And Tarby's year is going to be 1984.
Ooh. That's a good year as well, isn't it?
It is.
They're all good.
They are. But 84 is really good.
Yeah.
One springs to mind straight away. Love it.
Exciting.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so, okay, tune in next week where we will dissect Rambo First Blood and you get to find out what Tarby picked for 1984.
Sweet. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.